What is going on, guys? Joe here, and today we're going to be taking a look at probably two of the most anticipated phones of 2013, which is going to be Apple's iPhone 5s and Google's Nexus 5. So in this video, we're going to be comparing these two devices as they go head to head. Now, first off the bat, both phones are absolutely great devices. Apple's iPhone 5s starts at $199 for a 16GB model on a 2-year contract on most carriers. It comes in 3 different colors to choose from. You got space gray, the silver, and the new gold. Now it's going to have a 2-tone aluminum body. Now Google's Nexus 5, on the other hand, has a different design along with a price. The Nexus 5 starts off at a low price of $349 off contract for a 16GB model. You can choose from black or white. Now it's going to be made out of polycarbonate plastic, and on the black model we're going to have a matte finish around the device. So first to start off, let's go ahead and take a tour around the devices. And as you see here, we have our volume rockers and buttons on the left side. The iPhone 5s has an aluminum volume up and down buttons with an aluminum silent switch. And the Nexus 5 has a ceramic volume rocker, as you see here. Now taking a look above the devices, we have our volume power/sleep button on the iPhone 5s and our headphone jack on our Nexus 5, along with a microphone on the left part of the device. Now on the right side, we have our SIM card slot on the middle of the iPhone 5s. This is going to be a nano SIM card slot. And on the Nexus 5, we have our ceramic power/sleep button, along with our matte finish SIM card slot right below that. Now the Nexus 5 is going to be supporting a micro SIM card. Now below both devices, we have our iPhone 5s that has a headphone jack on the left, a microphone, lightning port, and then we have our speaker on the far right. Now on the Nexus 5, we're going to have our microphone on the left, and then right in the middle we have a micro USB port, and then on the far right we have our speaker. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the displays of these devices. Now the iPhone 5s is going to be rocking an IPS 4-inch display with a resolution of 1136 by 640 with a 326 ppi, and the Nexus 5 is going to be rocking an IPS 4.95-inch display, in other words basically a 5-inch display, with a resolution of 1920 by 1080 with a 445 ppi. So both of these devices are going to have absolutely amazing quality displays. Now let's talk a little bit about specs. The iPhone 5s comes with a 1.3 GHz dual-core A7 processor with M7 Motion co-processor and 1 GB of RAM. And the Nexus 5 is going to be a 2.3 GHz quad-core Snapdragon 800 with 2 GB of RAM. Now I know that may sound like gibberish to a lot of people out there. Basically, both devices are going to handle your favorite games, your favorite apps without any type of issues. Now taking a little step further, I did a Geekbench score, which is going to give you single core and multi-core scores of the processors. And the Nexus 5 came in at a single core score of 915 and a multi-core score of 2801. And the iPhone 5s came in at a single core score of 1410 with a multi-core score of 2560. So the iPhone 5s is going to beat the Nexus 5 on a single core score, but when it comes to the multi-core score, it's not too far behind the Nexus 5's quad-core Snapdragon 800 processor. Now let's talk a little bit about the cameras on these devices. The iPhone 5s has an 8-megapixel rear-facing camera with a True Tone dual LED flash, and then we have the Nexus 5 with an 8-megapixel rear-facing camera as well with optical image stabilization. But diving into the camera application of the Nexus 5, right off the bat, I was really not a big fan of the user interface. It was difficult to actually navigate through it because you have to do different type of gestures by pressing it, sliding up or down, left, right, just to navigate through different options, different settings on the camera app. This of course could be easily fixed with a software update, so I'm pretty sure an update is coming out soon for the camera application. But it does have some cool features like the sphere mode where you can take a full 360 shot, and the quality of the photos is not that bad. As you see here, here's some examples of the Nexus 5 camera quality. It's not going to be the greatest, but for the price that you're paying for this device, it does have a good quality camera. Now the Nexus 5 shoots in 1080p HD video, and here's a few little clips that show the quality of the videos. it is designed a little better, and you're able to navigate through different menus and different settings. Now, it's not going to have as many settings as the Nexus 5 does. You can't set different exposure levels and all that good stuff, but it has a rather simple user interface. Now, the shutter speed on the iPhone 5s is a lot faster than the Nexus 5, and also it has some cool features like the new 120 frames per second slow motion video. I actually did a video on that a while back, so if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link down below. But here's a little clip of that slow motion video. Now, I think that's going to be my favorite part of the iPhone 5s's camera, the slow motion. But here's some photos I took with the iPhone 5s rear-facing camera. Now, I do have some footage of the iPhone 5s camera quality. Now, disregard me saying this is the Nexus 5 and the iPhone 5s because I lost the footage for the Nexus 5. But fortunately, I got some footage, as you saw earlier, from the camera on the Nexus 5. But here's some footage on the quality of the rear-facing camera on the iPhone 5s. Alright, so this is a quick little test on the rear-facing cameras on both the iPhone 5s and also the Nexus 5. So we're going to see about the stabilization, how well that is, because I'm on a pretty bumpy road right now in this little, I don't know what this is, I don't know, forest. No, it's not a forest. It's like a little park, and then I'm in the back ends of it. So yeah, so this is the back-facing camera of both. I wanted to test out both the microphone and the stabilization. Now, when comparing both of these side by side in a low light environment, the Nexus 5 actually looks great in low light compared to the iPhone 5s. Now, I'm a big fan of listening to music, and sometimes when I don't have my headphones, of course, I like to listen to my music with just the speaker on my device. Now, I did put these head to head, testing out the speakers, but trying to get the sound quality through a microphone may or may not let you know which one is best. But here's a quick little test of both speakers using my Zoom H1 microphone. Now, you're probably able to tell, or maybe you weren't able to tell, the Nexus 5, I wasn't really impressed with the speaker, but for the price point, you really can't complain. Now let's talk a little bit about the operating system. The operating system on the Nexus 5 is going to be running Android, of course, and it's going to be on the latest version of KitKat, and the iPhone 5s is going to be running the latest version of iOS, which is going to be iOS 7. Now, both of these devices are going to be running the operating systems buttery smooth. I didn't have any type of complaints whenever I was using this. Now, one of the things I really liked about the Nexus 5 was going to be the feature called Google Now. Now, if you're not familiar with Google Now, it's basically like a quick Google search when you're on your home screen, just by simply saying the command, "Okay, Google, what's the weather like?"
It's 57 degrees and mostly cloudy in Garland.
Basically going to be like a virtual assistant, similar to Siri. What's the weather like in Dallas, Texas?
Looks like nice weather coming up in Dallas between today and Tuesday, up to 81 degrees Fahrenheit.
Now, there's times when using Google Now was faster than iOS's Siri. Okay, who was the first president of the United States?
Coming right up.
Here is some information about George Washington.
The answer is George Washington.
But I think, in my opinion, the Nexus 5 with Google Now, it definitely wins over Siri. Simply because Google Now seemed like it understood me 100% of the time, where Siri, sometimes it doesn't know what you're saying and you get these weird Google searches or just these weird things going on your iPhone. Now both of these devices are going to have their exclusive features that separate them from each other, and the Nexus 5 is going to have that NFC built in, which stands for near field communication, basically enabling you to exchange data between one phone to another, which could be very convenient at times. It also has built-in wireless charging, so if you do have the appropriate wireless charging mat, you'll be able to simply place it on there and then it'll wirelessly charge your Nexus 5. Now as far as the iPhone 5s goes, it does have the new Touch ID, which is basically the fingerprint sensor on the home button, where you simply just place your finger on there and then it's going to unlock your device. You can also confirm purchases with this, which is pretty cool and is very convenient whenever you don't want to type in your code. Or in any case, if you end up losing your phone, which would suck, you'll know that they can get into your device because they need to have that fingerprint or know your actual passcode. Lastly, let's talk about battery life. So with everything we've mentioned in this video, what about battery life? A lot of people always ask me, how long would this last me throughout the day? Now, it all is going to be depending on the user. That's what I always tell people. Their brightness level, Bluetooth, and all those different things that causes the battery to drain. Now with battery life, the iPhone 5s has a 1570 milliamp battery, whereas to the Nexus 5 has a 2300 milliamp battery. And on a normal day, my iPhone 5s usually lasted me about 6 to 7 hours of use. And then my Nexus 5 actually lasted me about 10 to 12 hours of use. So in my test, the way I use my device throughout a day, the Nexus 5 actually beat the iPhone 5s. But when it comes to battery life, like I mentioned earlier, it is all going to depend on the user, how they use their device. But finally, let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about the pricing. The Nexus 5 comes in at $350 off contract for a 16 gigabyte model. And if you want a 32 gigabyte model, it's going to only cost you $399. So $50 more for double the space. You can get it in black or white. Now as for the iPhone 5s, you're going to be getting it for $199. Typically that's what carriers are charging. $199 for a 16 gigabyte model with a 2-year contract, and then $299 for a 32 gigabyte, and then $399 for 64 gigabyte. You'll be able to pick that up in space gray, silver, or gold. Now if you wanted to go ahead and pick up the iPhone 5s off contract, it'll be costing you $650, $750, or $850 depending the size of storage you would want to get. I think either way you go, either Nexus 5 or iPhone 5s, you're going to be getting great devices, and especially the Nexus 5. For the price, you really cannot beat that. You're getting a device with pretty high-end specs, minus a few little things like the speaker and the camera. But when comparing that to the iPhone 5s, you're getting crazy good of a deal for $350. So like I said, either way you go, you're going to be getting great devices. But I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comment section below, which one would you prefer to get? Or if you did get one, which one did you end up getting? But anyways guys, that's going to be it for this video. As always, go ahead and hit that like button if you did like this video. Not only helps me, but it supports the channel as well. And if you still haven't followed me yet on any of my social networks like Facebook, Twitter, Google+, or Instagram, all the links will be down below in the description. And if you feel like being awesome, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you'll be notified when I come out with all of my latest videos. But other than that, that's going to do it for this video. I appreciate all of you guys for watching, and I will catch you all on the next one. Alright? Peace.